Hey there, Spirit of the Deal, and welcome back. Today I'm on with Jeanne, Comeau, and we are just letting it roll today. Jeanne said, "Just like let's let it happen," and I'm gonna let that happen. So, as you know, we usually like to start these off with some type of we're gonna give all the background on Jeanne, and but we like to start off with I call them spiritual speed dating questions. So I got a couple for you. Don't have to go too deep on them. Quick responses, and then we'll move on. Sound good? You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. If you walked into a Fortune 500 boardroom today and could say only one sentence about the future of leadership, what would it be?
It's not fear-based.
What is one belief about success that you had to unlearn to become who you are today?
That it can be earned through education.
In your experience, what drives more executive decisions, fear or vision?
Fear.
And the final one, what is the energetic cost of operating from scarcity at scale?
It's a tremendous loss of human potential, and it influences humanity.
I love it. Well, Dr. Jeanne, right? Doctor, is the doctor, I forgot to say doctor.
It is. It's a doctor of metaphysics, but we can drop the doctor and go pretty cash.
Oh man, come on! But it's fun. Don't let go of the fact that you got it.
Go for it.
So we'll go with Dr. Jeanne. Has spent more than 35 years leading at the highest levels of enterprise business, and then did something most executives only quietly dream about. She followed the deeper calling, certified with the John Maxwell leadership team, trained in Gallup Clifton Strengths, and now holding a PhD in metaphysics and holistic life counseling?
Holistic life counseling.
And a master's in metaphysical science. Jeanne bridges the boardroom precision with soul alignment, right? Today we're talking about changing a business paradigm. What if profit wasn't the point, but purpose was? What if creativity replaced competition? And what if gratitude dissolved greed? What if rhythm replaced rush? This is not a rejection of business. It is an evolution of it. Welcome, Dr. Jeanne.
Thank you, Brandon. I'm delighted to be here, and hello to your audience. Super excited today to join in. You know, I must add, after being in corporate 35 years, technology, sweet C sort of environment, it really was fear-based, and the fear came from the lack of confidence in the individual's personalities. That driven by the need for profit, which came from the top, of course, but that was also imbued with a lack of confidence, and everybody afraid of losing their job, losing their security.
Well, would you say that? I mean, I think that, right, as you're in there, you're in that environment. Is that the quiet tension that most executives feel that really won't admit?
Yes, I do believe that, Brandon. I felt it. I was always tuned into it, and I always felt it. There's just such a tension and aggression. With some people display it differently, but everybody's afraid of managing up. It's the whole manage up in the bottom line.
What do you? I'm sorry. So, and when you say manage up, what are you saying?
Well, what I'm meaning is satisfying what their managers are asking them to do, regardless of what the people that they manage need to do what needs to be done. Yeah. Thinking about themselves. I found the majority of managers at all the levels, when it's a human endeavor, right? We must be secure in our position because that's the way of the world. Of course, we have families, etc. And so everybody would come to work with emotions from the outside world and the need to climb the ladder and keep the paycheck and keep it growing, play up to the managers whatever they needed to be here, and whatever my manager, for example, would need to do to get the team to perform. And it would be triggered through fear.
Yeah. So, look, that fear drives, I've seen it, right? Myself been in, either high tech or, Fortune 500. What is it now for me? I think I'm rolling around 20 years. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was a 10-year hiatus in there too, but so obviously that leaves it at 20. But so we see it I think definitely in the middle management, and I think from the ground level. But do you feel like this is still like this fear base is even at the higher level leadership, even if things look good, like even if numbers are strong?
Yes, because the numbers can start to sway tomorrow. There can be some sort of public opinion about the company that can sway the individual's position. And I think that there's tremendous stress way at the top because there's a lot more to be lost.
Mm. But I think that, well, I definitely know that when they do the studies, and I know this is kind of goofy, but like when you're like, hey, I'll give you $1 or the possibility to earn 20, people always take like the sure thing, they don't want to lose that dollar that's right there in front of them. But even if there's the opportunity for 20 right there, right? So once they've already got this big number that you're talking about, I never even thought about. There's a fear to lose it, right? The other shoe could drop. Anything could happen.
Yes, there is. And to be fair, of course, it's not across the board. It's not across the board that managers at any level are promoted, are driven by fear. We do, and I have worked with some, and that were not. And they were joyful to work for. And I have to say that when those managers came in, the team was super productive.
Yeah.
Super productive. So much more got done. We could see it in the analogy of the play ball in the teams, right? The sports teams. When you've got a great coach, a coach that really cares about the team, over the publicity of the team, if you will, then they're going to perform better.
For sure. I think that when you say management, I think of it like this, Jeanne. Would you say that the people that came in, the managers that came in with and helped the team progress or do well, I would generally think about them more as leaders, right? Like a leader versus a manager situation.
Yes. I agree, and so the manager term really wasn't the right term to use, but let's talk about the difference between a leader and a manager. So there really is a difference in job description. I mean, the manager's role is to implement what the leader visions and the vision of the company, the strategy, if you will, the mission, the purpose. And so the manager plays a role there. But the manager is more important than the leader in many, many ways, because ultimately it's the people that deliver on the vision.
For sure.
And the managers are the ones that ignite the people to want to do that performing.
Yeah. No, I love that. Now, so, I mean, walk me through a little bit of like, okay, like making this transition, right? Diving into like, I love metaphysical science, and I'm all about holistic life coaching as well. But like, I mean, I pick up books and read about it, but you went in deep. So tell me,
I could have never seen it coming. Well, the short story, I was always into metaphysics. So I'm also an evolutionary astrologer. And I have to bring that into the story. So evolutionary astrology is the branch of astrology that seeks to understand, why does a person have the birth chart they have? What is the soul's purpose for this lifetime? What is the trajectory of the soul through all the lifetimes? But what's it here to do in this lifetime? And I now know a lot more about what I call my stars than I did decades ago. I was always drawn to metaphysics. And so that's actually in my stars. I was drawn to that, and always a hobbyist astrologer. But bringing it back to corporate, the thing that ignited me most when I went to work was the success of my teams. You see, I was a middle manager, sweet C manager. And so it was really the delivery of the teams, but more the success, because each and every individual comes into work with emotions and issues outside and goes home the same way. And I knew that their day on the job had the ability to ripple throughout their family and thus throughout humanity. That's the ripple effect. It does do that. And so I approach my position as working with the individual contributors and working to understand what it is they needed to do their best so that they could go home and feel job well done. And the whole team would success as a result of that, would succeed as a result of that. Now, that was something I came into work early. I mean, my whole career, it's been that way, and I never understood why, and now I do. So I was always running two lines, to answer your question. I was running a line with this corporate Sweet C management life, and then on the other side, I was teaching John Maxwell leadership programs in the company and even outside the company. One of my favorites, Put Your Dream to the Test, Clifton StrengthsFinder. I got certified there so I could use StrengthsFinder in developing my teams. And so the company did allow me to bring that in as well. Always seeking to bring out the best in the people, that they understand who they are and I understand as a manager what they need to perform. And life got on. The decades went by, and, it wasn't anything big, shocking. Nothing bad happened. It just finally got to the point where I said, I'm not able to do what I came here to do on this planet in this corporate job. It's time to make that change. Now, I exited. It was my choice. They wanted me to stay. I exited, and I launched what I'm now into, and I have never looked back.
I love it. So, was there a particular shift? I'm fond of, and I gotta imagine, you're a fan of, or at least obviously familiar with, like, Wayne Dyer and his work.
Sure.
Right. He's got that book called The Shift, and he did the movie called The Shift as well, which is kind of like, there's a certain point where, like, it just becomes obvious to you, right? Was there a certain point?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed there was. Yes, indeed there was. I had been working on a significant transformation project within the company. Well, it had been now 7 years, and it still had a couple of more years to go. It was extremely complex. And new management came in. New management came in that didn't understand the team that was in place and started interjecting people that I didn't feel that were going to be, that would allow us to succeed. As a consequence, even after I left, it was a difficult transition. They finally made it. But that aside, yes, it was a new management structure. And it was that new management structure, younger, okay, but eager and not experienced in these sorts of things, that really pointed out to me it wasn't worth the emotional contribution any longer. It was time to leave. So, yes.
No, it makes sense, right? You found a spot, and it was evident for you to take your leave, as it were, right? I love how, let's talk a little bit about the metaphysics, astrology. You were using that in your leadership role. It sounds like, maybe you weren't pulling people in and said, look, I checked out your stars, and here's what I see for you. But at the end of the day, maybe you did. I don't know. But,
no, I didn't.
But at some point, how did you see? Because again, spirit of the deal, right? There's this intersection of being fine and in your spirituality, and not necessarily leverage. I hate to say leveraging it for improvement, but you felt a certain way to help others bring out the best of themselves, right? In the space. How were you doing it so that again, you weren't literally saying, so I've got your star chart here, Max, and it says this needs to happen.
I did not have them. They would have had to give me certain information that I didn't have, and given me permission to do so. I mentored a lot of people. It's just my management style, one-on-one, and really sought to understand what their skills were and what stoked them. What put them in the zone. What deliverables did we have? It was software development, so there's lots of parts of it. But in what area would they be most happiest? And why happiest? Because they were playing to their strengths. They were in their zone, in the skills space, and so then therefore they would contribute to their best ability. And there's an energy that comes with that. An individual who is positioned right in the team to take advantage of their skills and is then able to do that, is happy, is producing a lot because they're in their zone. The energy permeates to the rest of the team. it lifts the team. So I had the ability, and before I was a metaphysician, a doctor of metaphysics, but I had the ability to tune into the energy of the individual team members and always go after the one whose energy was lowest, and then go and go and go. So it was always sort of like finding the right apple on the tree that needed to be cared for.
Sure.
And that would then build the team. But, that takes somebody that's tuned into individuals as unique contributors. Unique contributors. Now, I didn't work with their stars, but what I did was I was bringing in masterminds. So I was running a couple of John Maxwell mastermind programs there. Yeah. One was Everybody Communicates, Few Connect. That was a terrific one. And I would then have 10, 12 people throughout this whole global company that would sign up. Yeah. And everybody got to know each other differently, and everybody got to self-explore themselves in a way that no other platform had given them. So it was self-development of the individual, self-development of the individual. And so they were starting to tune more into who they were too. It wasn't just a job. Right. They're there to shine.
Yeah. And I think both of those programs, the John Maxwell program is very, very powerful, I think, on its own. Couple that with the Strengths Finders, super great, right? And then, like you said, who was it? I think it was, this was after Strengths Finders, the same program out of, I think, Beyond, with Gallup, which was Standout 2.0, Marcus, I think.
Yes, I know of those. Yes, I don't have it, but yes.
Yeah, similar. It's like it's along the lines of Strength Finders, right? And helping them to be willing. So there's a willingness on your part, to spend a little bit of time to say, hey, by the way, what lights you up?
Right.
Right. And then there's the B part is not just like, okay, what do we have here that can keep you lit up? And, I think about, I worked in the car industry, automotive industry a little bit. And, when you cross section 2 headlights, the place where they cross section on the ground in front of you is brighter, right? So you're intersecting lights, making the whole space brighter when you're doing the work that you're talking about doing. So, all right.
I
love the past.
Something comes to mind, which we were talking about the leader and the manager. Mm-hmm. And so what's the difference? The leader, sets the vision, that's true, and leads the team. The thought just left me. But the manager needs to understand they're more important than the leader. Because ultimately they're responsible for individual people. These are not just employees. And even if you're working at McDonald's, I think you're not just an employee. You're an individual that's going to a place and you're being paid to do work and contribute the best of yourself. And so, but with StrengthsFinder, and so you've had your StrengthsFinders done, Brandon?
Years ago, yes.
Years, right? So when I had mine done back in 2014, it was eye-opener. Now, eye-opening. I innately knew these things about myself, but what StrengthsFinder taught me was I'm not built to be good at everything.
Oh, sure.
I'm not, why can't I do that thing that person does?
Right.
It's not in my DNA and it's not in my birth chart. I will say that for sure. And so, StrengthsFinder, at a mundane level, if we leave the metaphysics aside, just go StrengthsFinder, which is part of my program when I coach with clients. But you take that just aside, and you're given 3D permission to tap into your strengths. This is where I shine, and how do I put those to work?
Somebody that hasn't heard the term 3D means what?
It means day-to-day life, and I guess I'm going to say that differently. 3D is the life that we live void of understanding that there's something more to life on a spiritual level, that it's bigger.
Perfect. Yeah. So, I don't think that everybody's heard it's funny because once we're kind of in the weeds, we start throwing out, yeah, the 3D. Yeah,
Right.
we're into 3D. What does that mean? Right. So thank you for that. So, yeah, let's talk a little bit more about where you are now, right? I think the past has been great. You shared some stories that are nice, giving us a little bit of, kind of where you are now. That's always been a little bit of like, I think, core to who you are. And now that you're, fully leaned into it, what's happening?
My core is adding value to others, and it's in my DNA, my soul print. It's all about adding value to others, and how do I do that? Then is the question. So a person, you'll certainly be giving out my website. Folks can go and take a look, and there's two ways to approach, meeting with me, working with me, but it's not about me. That's the most important thing here. I'm the conduit, okay? It's not about me. It's about source. It's about energy. I just happen to be the mechanism. But I believe passionately that we should all know who we are. The ancient scripture saying, know thyself. Plato talked about it for a very real reason. When we know who we are, everything else that is bringing us unhappiness seems to fall away. The mental machinations that seek to control us and hold us in the darkness of our mind falls away because we know who we are. Very powerful note. Everybody is unique. Unique. Forget social media. You're not supposed to be like everybody else, even though we're broadcasting over that. But unique. Your birth chart is as unique as your thumbprint. In the birth chart with evolutionary astrology, which is soul-centered astrology, I can consult with a client and show the client what their core essence is, what their karma is that they came in with, and what their North Star is. What is it that they came into this lifetime to do? How did they decide before they were born they wanted to evolve their soul through this lifetime? Because everybody chooses their moment in time of birth, moment and place. So this is my evolutionary astrology. It's a great entry point way to work with me. It's called Know Your Stars. You'll see it out on the website. My full counseling, coaching, if you will, is Live Your Blueprint. And Live Your Blueprint is a 9-session experience. But in Live Your Blueprint, we work with astrology, we work with Strengths Finder, we write your starting story. Where are you now in the life? Right. What's your vision? There's always the vision there. And we go through a series of steps that ultimately, after the experience, my clients are left with a profound understanding of who they are, why they are here, and why they matter. And right there, Brandon, I've added value. It's what motivates me. And income, sure, I have to have income, but that's not my motivating force. My motivating force is adding value to each and every individual that I work with. And so there's a few ways to work with me, and a website that says a lot of things about it. Thank you for that opportunity.
No, well, sure, right? I mean, you exhibited that throughout your, I'm going to air quotes, professional field, or your, throughout your life, at least in the story that you're telling us, right? Like, helping people, understanding their strengths, helping them to light themselves up, being buoyant, and at the end of the day, that's going to improve both the bottom and the top line, right? If I show up to work and I'm engaged.
Yes.
Wow. Yes. Right? Like, I mean, I think the studies currently show that 85% is not engaged.
More.
Right.
And, I'd love to share a story, and, in terms of how did the signs come that I should do this in the third part of my life? How did the signs come?
Yeah.
They were always coming, but I'll never forget, but we don't see them when they come. But I'll never forget receiving a thank you card in the mail one day from a gentleman, a young man he was a contractor out of India that I had worked with, and this is finance technology that our company had hired as a contractor, and he was part of my team. And 4 years after leaving, he writes me this thank you card about how pivotal I was in his life. as being his manager at that time. This young man has gone back to India and has started a phenomenal business where he has created a company for elderly women.
Wow.
And he, so that is super motivating for me. That card is on my desk at all times.
I love that. That'll have to be, I had another friend that would close his podcast with the 7 questions that John Maxwell always said, it's like, who should I know at the end? So when we stop this, I'd love to connect with that person, who left you the card.
Yes.
But more about you. So more about you. So, I think we'll go ahead and kind of wind it down, right? We'll definitely share your sites and all the information. But if you were to think about the next generation of leaders embodying some of this work, coming through your process, understanding themselves, fully embodied, lined with purpose, they're creative, their gratitude, what do you think the business space would look like 20 years from now?
The business space will be focused on the betterment of humanity overall. And it's going to happen, Brandon. It's going to happen because of the younger generations that are coming up and the cosmic energies that they were born under. Everything is generational. We can think of the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. Our grandparents were very different than we were. So all of these generations, what makes them different is they're born under different planetary aspects, major aspects. And there is a new world order coming in business. Meta Business is a terrific book written by Dr. Greg Nielsen, and he talks about the new business, which is business visions will be focused more on the betterment of everything before profit. Profit will come, but profit is not the driving motive. It's the betterment of everything. And I see that that is where we will go. How much of it we'll see in the remainder of our lifetime, Brandon, I'm not sure, but I think we'll see a lot of glimpses of it. We see it already with the younger generations looking to create things to save the planet and get rid of plastics and improve farming and make it healthier. There's a lot of meta businesses coming up, and eventually they'll be prominent. And that's where I see business going.
I love that. My kids are, 14, 16, and we have conversations, right, about, the things and businesses. And my one son totally hates Nestle, and I get it.
Yeah.
It's entertaining because,
I get it.
And what they say, but I also remind them, I always remind them of a couple different things. And a couple different things I remind them of is like, hey, just because these are the ones that are prominent and the biggest right now, if we look back throughout history, there's a downfall of plenty of huge companies and corporations, right? Be what may be, for better or worse. But I said, maybe you guys have never checked out these B corporations. There are companies out there that are doing things for good. Go check them out, right? And I think that is out there right now, and we're seeing a mess right now in the world. But on the other end of the mess, like you talked about, sometimes when you're in the middle of it, you don't know. I actually did a podcast on this the other day. You're in the metamorphosis phase. You don't know that you're turning into a butterfly right now.
Well, we are. We absolutely are. And the world is a mess right now because it's a major destruction of the old, and it's not going down easy, so that the new can come. And I'd love for us to share with the audience this particular book. So, we're here talking about the spirit of the deal. We're talking about spirit in business. This is a terrific little book by Dr. Greg Nielsen. I don't get anything out of this. But the business, meta business axioms he talks about. Purpose motive replaces the profit motive. Creativity replaces competition. Gratitude replaces greed, whole living replaces the work ethic, and rhythm replaces rush.
Jeanne, I love it. I thank you so much for being on here today. Who, do you feel like you have an ideal client? If so, who would that be? Who should be reaching out to you? And then where should they go to connect with you? I
have ideal clients. Blessed enough. I've had some unideal clients, and that's not worked out. But I'm interested in people that are committed to significant and purposeful living. Only those people. See, because I'm not here for profit. I'm here to make a difference. And only those people, because those people are going to be the change makers. They're going to be the way showers. And I'd love to work with, again, committed to significant and purposeful living, work with these individuals so they understand who they really are, why they are here, and go out and make it happen.
Thank you so much. And where do they find you?
They find me at jeanniecomeau.com.
Thank you so much for being on here today, Jeanne.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you to everyone for listening.
So I'll cut it there. I did want to connect with the person that sent you the card. If you're open, if you're open
I'm
to making the connection.
Totally open. And I'll send you his details. His name is Prasad Biddy, Bhide. And he started a company in India. It's called Ajay. And now he's up to 3 facilities.
Awesome. I love that.
Yes.
Well, look at that. Look,
I'll send you that. I'll send you that email with that contact.
Thank you. Great connecting. I will. Let's stop the recording here so that.